This is the professional development for teachers using STAR data to differentiate classroom instruction for course EDU 560. Let's take a look at our participants today. This is Billie Jean and Sweet Caroline. This is Billy Bob, and this is Peggy Sue. They will be joining us today. After a brief getting to know you time and introductions and snacks, let's get started with our course today.
Take it to the next step. We need to be able to move it from where it's just numbers to where it's meaningful to the kids. Okay. So our first slide is from the TELL survey. This is from 2015. What did the teachers feel like they needed in a professional development? One of the things that they looked at for South Todd and Todd County in general is that we want to utilize instructional technology. Okay? And we want to be able to fully implement that. So with that being said, I'm not going to try to waste a lot of your time. I'm going to honor your time, and I'm going to make sure that by the end of the day, development. Looks like we're all about even across the board, but 61% in Kentucky, pretty much, we want to know how to close that achievement gap, how to take those smaller groups, those at-risk students, and we want to be able to plug those gaps. We want to have a learning continuous.
So I looked at the TELL survey for North Todd, South Todd, middle school, and I also looked at the high school. But since we do not have the high school represented today, I will focus on just the aspects of South Todd, North Todd, and the middle school. We are looking for closing the achievement gaps. We desire as teachers to fully implement the technology. Sometimes we get just bits and pieces of our technology and it sounds really good, but when we go to implement into the classroom, things fall apart during the classroom setting. And we also want to know about content knowledge, that our standards are such that we just need more help in understanding how to convey these concepts to students. And when I look at the technology plan for Todd County, our goal number one says we want to integrate technology into the curriculum and instruction, and it will be an obvious natural progression within the classroom. And right now we just see technology in sporadic moments. Many of these moments come about because teachers aren't fully comfortable with the technology itself. So when students have issues or troubles, they feel like they cannot answer those questions, and then that makes teachers shy away from using that technology regularly in the classroom. So one concern was over math content in the middle school and elementary school teachers. They need more support on what the standards look like and how to teach the standards to students. So Khan Academy is a way that as the students are learning and relearning their material, the teachers can work with them individually and kind of refresh their own minds about what is expected of the students. In addition, the teachers can use Khan Academy at home as they are developing their lesson plans and unit plans if they feel like they need a section to be retaught or refreshed for themselves, so they can be confident in bringing that material to students. So at the middle school, we had a discussion on what two major ideas we could bring to the elementary and to the high school that would show a coherence in our learning standards. And we use Achieve the Core Coherence Map. We're looking at equivalent fractions and how it initially gets started in the elementary school and how it progresses through the middle school and then into the Algebra 2 portions of high school. And then we also looked at our division, long division standard algorithm of how it gets started in the elementary school, and then it progresses through middle and then on into the high school realm, where the students have to master these types of skills and how you can see that progression.
Using the Achieve the Core Coherence Map, you can see that the KAS content standards, looking at math content, we can trace the way the content develops from third grade through the middle school and through the high school. So on the right, you have 3 different examples. First example is an example from elementary school where you're building equivalent fractions. And then the middle school, we're going to build ratio tables with equivalent fractions. And then at the high school level, we will have to rationalize the denominator. So that means we're going to multiply both numerator and denominator by the square root of 10 and then simplify in order to have a nice expression that does not have a square root in the denominator.
Because the math content is so varied, and because we are using technology, we are going to be focusing our efforts on standards 5 and 6.
To understand and use the technology, we want to select and use the applications effectively and productively. We want students to be able to do this, not just the teachers, not just us sifting through resources to bring to the kids. We want the students to be able to be independent learners, to engage themselves in the learning. One thing that I was impressed on personally was that the dual credit, my kids took dual credit, and that's online, and they had a hard time with that first class because they didn't know how to work academically with the technology. They could play games all day long, they could do all this other stuff, but to click and to drag and to open up windows and to really Google search for what they really needed to find, those keywords, they didn't have that skill. So I really am passionate about bringing that into the middle school. All right, for the work today.
So technology is a good thing to use, but I wanted to bring some research-based concepts into our instruction today. The Universal Design for Learning, UDL Standards, Checkpoint 2.5. We're going to start with that.
Okay, looking at the Universal Design for Learning, Checkpoint 2.5, we see that illustrating through multiple media that this is a good learning strategy for some students. For fractions instructions for students with mathematics disabilities, there was 2 different teaching sequences that this article had conducted a study over. And we learned from this particular study that using virtual manipulative examples met the need for differentiation. And so looking at this particular design for learning, it encourages me to use technology to build some of our concrete examples in math when we need to teach and reteach specific skills as we are trying to close our learning gaps. So technology will allow us to look at students' individual needs. So many different virtual manipulatives can be used throughout the classroom in any given day.
UDL Checkpoint 6.1 talks about goal setting for students, and that students need to self-monitor, self-regulate themselves when they are completing a task. And this is research-based, showing that the more students are engaged with their own goals, then the more successful they become and the more they have an aptitude to reach those goals. So the Khan Academy, the technology is going to have small goal setting ideas, and then the students can expand on those goals as they become more and more proficient. UDL Checkpoint 7.1, optimizing individual choice and autonomy. This becomes a big player in our Khan Academy site because students will have the choice on how to approach the material. Will they look at the practice problems first? Will they look at videos? Will they ask their neighbors? Will they ask the teacher? How do they engage themselves? And so the effect of the outcome is that it builds that intrinsic motivation within students because they have to be the one to decide where to get started in their learning. So UDL Checkpoint 8.4 is my favorite by far. I believe increasing mastery-oriented feedback. It intensifies the learning, and that is really big for our math content.